Alright, hello, welcome back to the channel where we are building a video game from scratch using Love2d and Lua. Yesterday we got our frame rate independent spellcasting working, so whether or not we have VSync enabled, we have a consistent spellcast exertion result, whatever we want to call it. So the next step today here is we're going to be touching the A button, use our spellcast, because right now spellcast is just based on a spacebar press. But in the game, we're going to be changing our A and B buttons. We need to map basically every controller for the desktop version to map to two buttons to be the A and B buttons. So the it looks like your Abra K-Tron is like dancing in the A button. Oh, he's done now. So we need to, change it. And there's a couple of steps here because we don't want it to just be mapped to anytime A is pressed to go ahead and spellcast, because you cannot spellcast if you're not holding an element. So I think for today's sake, we will just make A cast a spell so that we can at least just test it on the mobile deployment. But in the very, very near future, we need to give an inventory system so that we can detect, okay, hey, you're holding a fire element, the blue orb. So like if you look at the mage here on the screen, he's holding a little orb in his right hand, and that orb is what we're calling an element, and the element is what allows spellcasting to happen. So he's got this purple element. So what that would mean is if we go to our inventory and equip the fire element, Tashio would then be holding it in his hand, therefore he can cast blue fire spells. So let's just try to get it working on touch devices first, and then we'll worry about the inventory system in the very, very near future. Not today, but probably tomorrow we'll have to get started on it. So I did make some mock-ups for that HUD, so we might first make up some A-Sprite mock-ups because I don't want to get too far into coding it before we know what it looks like or needs to work like. So we might do like a bare bones version of it first until we find out, because I'm assuming that we're going to have 4 total spells for the game. But if we go too deep too soon before we have any of the other stuff, we only have 1 fire element, so we don't want to get too ahead of ourselves. But let's take a look at how we're handling this spell casting at the moment. It's under a spacebar press, so right now we're just literally checking for if the space key is down and do this stuff. And then it's a little weird because we're doing 2 different things here. Like we're right here, this is handling unfocus and the focus indicator X, and then this portion is handling the manus. So we have them separate here because we have this else if statement. Actually, let's see what happens if we take all of this stuff that's in this second space being held and we try to do it. Wow, this is already in a if space is down. Right? Oh no, right here. Okay, so we'll put it right here and we'll see if that screws up all kinds of stuff. Oh shit. Okay, no, it's... I think this else is what's screwing us. What is the... Okay, so if space is down, we're gonna do all that stuff. Else, we're just gonna drain our focus indicator. Okay, so if we take all this logic for our space being held, see, and then this is... I guess if we take out this else if and just put an if in here. Well, the else if would be if it's not down. Okay, so we would need to put this if block in an else if block right here. And then keep our else so that we can still drain our unfocus. And then move all of this other logic to be within... to be within the initial if block. Okay. Let's see if that works still. So we'll have to get rid of this. Okay. Yeah, we have not done that yet. The buttons yet. That'll be right up next. This is weird. It looks like it works for the most part, except the drain doesn't, the focus indicator drain doesn't happen right away. Hey, Prosta, what's up, dude? Okay, are we not regenerating our manas? No, yeah, we are. Sorry to hear about that, Prosto. That does look better. Oh, shit. No, we're not draining. We're not draining. You know, it's pretty good. I'm super happy with it that we can get it deployed to the web and play it just like a Game Boy game. Like, that is my dream come true. I spent a lot of time like trying to figure out how to get a little handheld device working that could load Love games. But now that I can just deploy it onto the website, anyone with a smartphone can hopefully go and play it. So I'm super stoked about that. It probably won't, it won't really work by the time we need save files and all of that stuff, because I don't know how to integrate that with the web. But at least for like a demo, we can put the full game there. You just can't really save your progress. But that's a good enough. That's just great, because I want the barrier to entry to be so low for this game. I want anybody and everybody to be able to play it if they want. So I'm really happy with that. And we haven't made much progress in the past 2 weeks in the terms of any new features, but now we do have some better stuff. Like we have frame rate independent logic for spellcasting and moving, which wasn't the case before. We've got the web deployment working, which is just huge, and then we've got this Game Boy UI that is mostly off screen right now for the dev stuff, but it works registering touch on the mobile device, so I'm super happy with it. And it looks like we fixed our weird bug with the character walking that I could not track down for the life of me. So once we refactored that, that's a lot cleaner too. So overall, it's going really good. And we'll soon have, it's going to be good. Once we get the dialogue system for the NPCs and the inventory system, it'll really start to feel like a real game. Because right now, it's just like a sandbox to walk around in, which is cool, but there's not a lot of interactivity. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to keep stuff going. But yeah, today's going to be a shorter stream. I always comment E in chat. Today's going to be a shorter stream. I'm just like low on energy. And just sleepy overall. So I'm gonna just try to fix this one feature and ship it to the mobile deployment and then hopefully call it a night. So we'll see. This is the beginning of our checklist to try to get all of our spellcasting logic to work based on a keyboard press. Okay, so like, yeah, we want this to work not just on a keyboard press, but on a collision with our touch detection object for A. It's more complicated than that, but for right now, that's what we're going to be doing. Because ideally, I guess the check we need to do is say, okay, we've detected a collision on A, so what is the equipped item? And then go and toggle something that says, okay, you know, A is pressed, element is equipped on A button, therefore toggle element A cast, whatever. So we probably don't want to toggle it just based on a touch detection object, but we want to toggle another something so that we can assign it. You know, it's not that we toggle it every time we press A, it's that we toggle it when it's pressed A and the element is equipped in the A slot. So if we kind of do ourselves a favor and build it out like that, it'll make it a little easier for when we have other elements to go then say, okay, well, you're not casting a fire spell because you're casting it, you're hitting A when you've got nothing equipped. So hopefully we can figure that out. And then hopefully we don't have to duplicate all this code, right? Hopefully we can say, okay, well, if and we're going to change the space. I think we're going to do WASD for walking, which we already did. And then is there a standard for... Is there a dude? That's actually working on me, K-Tronics. The swirls. And yeah, something about the... Yeah, that's going to actually work on me here. I guess I was asking if there's like a... Is there any sort of standard for A and B buttons on keyboard? Because right now I'm thinking O and P because they're just the rightmost buttons. But there's no like A and B button equivalent to WASD on keyboards that I should maybe do as a standard other than O and P? I don't really know. Yeah, WASD is now the new movement. We took it off of arrow keys. Partly because part of me wants to get my blue switch keyboard. Oh, Q and E? Oh, that can be tough though. I feel like I want it on the other hand because if you want to walk and spellcast, you can't really... It's almost like the claw grip problem when you're playing like Dark Souls games or whatever, right? You want to be able to change the camera and dodge, but if your thumb is moving the camera, you can't hit circle and dodge. JKL. Yeah, some Vim motions in there. I am toying with an idea to add another button because I want... What sucks about the limit of Game Boy is that we can't hit we can't hit more than 3 frets. Like we could technically hit yeah, I feel you there, Prosto. Yeah, it would kind of matter about all that stuff. Because one thing I'm thinking of is for the loot, if we only have, let's say, O and P as A and B, we only have 2, and I would think we would swap this over so that strings would be controlled by the D-pad. Because on the D-pad, we technically have... Gosh, that's going to be a whole tough thing to refactor, because at least on the touch device, you can tap a corner and that counts as 2 inputs. So we could do string combinations. Yeah, this is gonna be tough. The loot refactor is gonna be really tough, because if we decide to stick with 2 buttons and we want more, then I don't know how we would do more than 3 frets, because we have either A is pressed, B is pressed, or both is pressed, right? And then we have the neutral no fret. So that still doesn't get us to the point where we can have 4 different frets, but also maybe 3 frets is okay, and we can change it so that our note scale doesn't overlap anymore, so we can get the same range of notes. Yeah, no, it won't be pressed at the same time. It'll be, technically, if you want to press them all at the same time, that would be possible. But it wouldn't require it to be. It would be one at a time. Because especially on touch device, we have to figure out how to make it play nice on touch as well as keyboard. So I'm thinking of it's gonna be quite different than how it currently is set up, but we'll figure that out when we get to it. Yeah, that's gonna be tough. Still not sure how that's gonna go, but the Game Boy route is the route I want to go, so it'll be a fun limitation to try. Okay, so if we wanted to check, and this is hard to debug because we have to, in order to have a touch detection object to detect a touch, it has to be deployed on a touch device. So it becomes hard to debug or develop for this. Your current system too complicated? Yeah, it is too complicated to turn down. We'd have to basically start from scratch and redo it, but that's totally fine. Like, we threw it together in a day or two, so I'm sure we can gut it and rebuild it in a day or two also. I mean, it won't be, yeah, it'll be more than that, but at least getting us started. In Walking Dead, is that one of the Telltale Walking Dead ones? I know there was Last of Us 2 had some guitar, and they used the touch on the DualShock. That worked pretty good. But yeah, we'll have to see what works. We're gonna have to change it drastically, but I think it's worth it. And then, Prosto, did you ever play Animal Well? Animal Well has like a little flute that you play. It's only like 1 scale. You can play guitar, switch chords. That sounds cool. I will check that out. I will check that out and see how they do it, to maybe see if I can get any ideas from it. Okay, so I'm trying to find the list of our touch detection objects. Okay, we have them in our touch handling class. Now, the buttons are everything that isn't the D-pad, right? So it's A, B, start, and select. So A is buttons index 1. You don't like Animal Well's art style? That's funny, man. I love it. I think it looks so cool. But I totally get how people have, different takes on that. I think it's really interesting. And it's, I just love when games come out that's solo dev. Games that, they spend 4 years plus on a game to finally release it. I always love seeing what they come up with. Is it the overall art style, Prosto, or is it the CRT graphics? Like, okay, yeah, so like the neon colors and the CRT cyberpunk, whatever it's called. So Prosto, how would you feel? Because I was thinking of doing this. I was thinking of having a filter at, like, as a special effect for the game. Since we can toggle the Game Boy UI, I can't even come up with good examples. But to turn it like monochrome into the old Game Boy style. Like, is that nasty to you? Here, this is a decent one. Oh god, that's not it. I don't know. Neovim thought I wanted to open up. Thought I wanted to paste the link instead of open up. Dude, come on, just open up this. It looks so shitty, but I love it. Yeah. I'm interested in trying to figure out how to do a shader for this to desaturate it and tint it green like this, so that you can just toggle it on. Okay, cool. I'm glad you like that, because that's, I mean, it is ugly, but it's so nostalgic to me. Like, so I would love to do it. So K-Tronics, the only Game Boy I don't have is the Micro. I really wanted a Micro, and then I just never ended up getting one, and now they're like crazy expensive. But I just beat Metroid Fusion the other day on my Game Boy SP, and that was such a good experience. Yeah, it is ugly in a good way. I agree. Yeah. So like that's, I think I do want to do that. Not quite. I don't think I want to go the Animal Well route where it like really blurs everything and does the interlacing kind of look, but at least to do a green filter I think would be really fun. Because the first time I played Zelda, it was the black and white version. It wasn't the Zelda DX with color. So I think that would be cool. I'll have to look up how to do yeah, one of these days I'll get one, K-Tronics, because I just love the idea of how small it is, and it could almost fit in your tiny pocket on jeans. You can draw everything onto a canvas with default shaders, then draw a canvas on a screen with a custom shader. Okay. Is that something that Love2d has? I mean, we don't have to like import a special shader library or anything into Love2d to do that, right? Transform color however you want. Yeah, to do like just like you said, like convert everything to monochrome, just shift all the, I don't know how, I'm sure it's more complicated than I think, but basically just take out all the chroma and leave the luminance and then tint it. Yeah, that's going to be really fun. I think that's really cool and interesting to do. So I'm sure that'll be awesome, because I love when that stuff, like, I don't know if we'll do it where it's like unlockable. Like in Cuphead, you can, if you get the pacifist achievement or whatever, you can turn on the 3-strip style color, which I love in Cuphead, but also it's tough to unlock that. I don't know if I want to hide it behind a skill gap there, or a. If you just turn everything to green, you'll get 256 shader of it. In the, I guess I just don't know how the canvas, like, because right now we're loading color sprites, and then all I'm saying is draw the color sprites. I don't know of a way to say take every pixel and convert it. I don't know how to do that. But I'm sure I can figure it out. Sure, it won't be that bad. You know, I don't think I want it authentic. I think if I just tint it, it's good enough. Like I don't really care for the super authenticity of it. I just kind of want to turn it green and monochrome. I don't think I care about the four tints, because then I have to worry about that as I'm developing the new sprites and stuff. Sample shaders. I'll look into that. We're definitely not there. Like that's probably like way down the road, unless we get bored and want to switch stuff up. But take some params and returns a color. Okay. Yeah, I'll look into that. I'm sure we can figure it out, and I'm sure it won't be that bad. Especially because we're not doing it the authentic way. We're just trying to do the hacky way, just to tint it. Okay, so it looks like our main Lua has our touch input, which has all of our touch that then updates all of our touch detection objects, and we know that pressing A is the mumbo jumbos. You know, I might do. Well, there is a level. So there's a level in Link's Awakening where it goes full Mario style side scroller, right? There's a couple parts in the game that it goes and does that, and it's like there's I'm forgetting which part exactly, but it's like there's like a dungeon part, and there's even like a freaking Goomba. There's a Goomba in Link's Awakening, pretty much. Like, let me see if I can find that. Yeah. I only found the still of the new one that has it. Oh, here we go. This is it. Dude, okay. That is driving me crazy that it does that. Here. I will drag this over. Look at that. It goes like full side scroller, and there's freaking Goombas. So like maybe we do like a little homage to this scene, like you're saying, Prosto, where it's like more classic Game Boy, and it like, and we can do a little scene where it's just side scroller like this instead of top down, and then we can put in our own Goombas or whatever we want. That would be fun to do, like a little retro, because that's part of the thing that made Link's Awakening so interesting, is that they experimented with this stuff to like, fuck it, put a Goomba in there. Yeah. And this was the Game Boy Color version. There was Link's Awakening before the DX version came out, but I'm pretty sure the sprites, I don't think they changed the sprites art other than adding color, but I don't know for a fact on that. But that would be cool. I would like to see something like that in our game. Okay, so let's take a look at how we're handling the D-pad pressing for our directions, and I think it's in the walk state or play state. Nope. Okay, so I think we should do something similar to what we're doing in here, which is we're already registering an A button press here in our touch handling class. So I think what we need to do is instead of flipping the toggle, you don't recommend making shade first. Maybe inspiration for custom sprites one day. What do you mean by custom sprites? Because I mean they are. Oh, you do recommend shader. Yeah, I mean, I think shader's gonna be one of the last things we do, honestly. Like, it'll be like a day I'm feeling sick or something, and being like, okay, screw it, let's just try to get the shader working. Okay, where do we have? We need to do something very similar that we do with our other things here, which is, yo, what did I just do? Quick fix list. I don't think I've ever seen that. Oh no. I'm stuck in Vim world. I don't know how to close this quick fix list. Okay. Well. As I put myself right back in it. Okay. Okay, we have this thing called touch list. Now, we did a bad job naming this because this actually just handles the D-pad touches, not any of the button touches. Okay. I mean, Prosto, so I mean, I guess I still don't really get what you're saying, because all of our sprites are the 16 by 16 style, Game Boy style. I mean, are you talking about like the limited color palette or something like that? Because we haven't limited our color palette just yet. I'm just trying to get basically how the sprites look, and then we can kind of limit our color palette. But we're gonna give ourselves a button list here. As I cannot type. Yeah, texture and quad, yeah. Oh, gotcha. Okay, yeah, I get what you're saying there. Yeah, that definitely, that was like the hacky way in my brain, is just to export the global map and just edit it right now. Yeah, and just swap the colored version for the green version. Yeah. Okay, I agree with you. I think the shader route would be funner and cooler. Yeah, than just doing. Yeah, I totally agree. I think that is what I'd want to do. I don't want to do this. Like, I'm okay doing a hacky way of figuring out the shaders, but I think it is cool to do. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can do more unique stuff, but you got to sit there and do it. Yeah, I totally agree. Okay, so how we're handling this is, for our D-pad, we have this concept of first gain all the buttons that are currently being pressed, or touched rather, and then we sanitize the input. Any contradictory directions being held, or more than two directions, we're cutting those out, and then we're left with a list of the output, the touch output list. So if we have a button list, I don't think we need to do this sanitize, well, in the sense that we need to make sure we don't add more than one A button into our button list. We have to do, yep, I think, dude, yeah, I'm excited for the shaders. I think that'll be really cool. And then we can make a couple. Once we figure out how to make one, we can make a couple just to you know, throw some more uniqueness in there. I'm trying to think. Let's look at how we do it touch presses. So here's all our callbacks for the touch press and touch move. And then we're saying, okay, in the touch handling update, we flush all of our buttons to be false, and all of our D-pad values to be false, all of our buttons to be false, and then we go through and say, okay, well, for every button in our D-pad, if our touch is colliding with any of those touches, we're going to set that very button's collision to be, we check collision for it, and then set that field of pressed to be equal to true. And then here we're cycling through our buttons, and then we're saying, okay, well, if any button collides with our touch, then we're setting that buttons to be pressed to be equal to true. So right here, we need to say, either we have a field we can access our correct index for our buttons, or we say if the K value here in this loop is equal to 1, then we know that the button that is colliding is the A button, and then we can do another check and say, okay, well, now see what is applied in our inventory system. What does our character have currently applied, and then swap another field of that button to be true if it collides. So like in this one, this would be like fire element. So like we would swap fire element to be true instead of pressed to be true. That way we can have a field keeping track. The button contains the field of whether or not. Oh, see, that's weird. Yeah, I guess we wouldn't want to put it in the button field. We would want to do some other thing to keep track of whether or not the fire spell's being pressed. So let's just try to get it to work with A, pressing A. So right now we are saying button pressed gets true, and that will render a little red rectangle right above our A button so that it registers that we are pressing it. But what we really want to do is say, if we collide with this touch, okay, if we collide with the touch and the key is equal to 1, meaning we're in the first I pairs. Oh, this would have to be I pairs. If our key is equal to 1, that is our A button. So therefore, we would say if K is equal to 1, then we would want to do something. And the thing we want to do is... I just really screwed up. I don't know how I did that. Okay. K is equal to 1. We would want to set some variable, like spellcast pressed or something, because right now we're doing it based on if spacebar is pressed, but we would say firespell, firespell pressed gets true. But the issue is we need to be able to, I guess we would flush this to be false before we flip it to true, right? So we would say, oh my goodness, local fire spell pressed, not that. We flush it to false. If our first button, if our touch is colliding with our first button, meaning we're pressing A, then we're gonna say, okay, fire spell pressed is true. But this is just a local variable. We need access to this where we are doing our actual spellcast, which is in our right here in our play state. So our play state needs access to this touch detection object. Now we do have this, if we do go about the route of putting it in the field and we say something like this, because the thing is, this is a little weird because our buttons table is global, so we should be able to come in here and say, okay, well, if K is 1 and we're colliding with the very first of our buttons, then we can say buttons at index 1, fire spell pressed gets true, and then we can just say that we flush this before we go for the check so that we have an accurate representation of whether or not it's pressed on the very frame. So we'd say, okay, well, flush it to false, and then if we're colliding with it, go ahead and turn it true. Also turn the button to be pressed so that we can see it being pressed on the touch device, and then break because we know we're already colliding with it. We don't need to check the other buttons. That's Prosto's fix right there. But yeah, let's see if I think we can define a field like this without putting it in the init, because our touch detection object doesn't have a fire spell pressed field, but I think we can just add one right here, I think. So let's try to get this buttons 1 fire spell pressed to be printing on screen, which we have to put on a mobile device in order to test. But while we're at it, what we're going to do is just go ahead and try to implement the fire spell if that's pressed already. So like in our right here, we're saying go ahead and do all the spellcasting stuff if space is down, but we also want to do it or if buttons, oh gosh, if buttons at index 1, which is A, dot fire spell pressed is true, if space is down, or if our fire spell's pressed, go ahead and do that stuff. And then yeah, we didn't end up doing this route, but v.direction. I don't know what route I was trying to go with this, but let's try to get this on mobile and test. So what I'm going to do is, we've got a couple of things that are screwed up for the mobile deployment versus our dev environment. So I think I'm going to do, it's a couple of things, right? We need to disable full screen, which it is, unless we're building for iOS. It's easier for me to literally deploy to my website than it is to build for iOS. So I think we'll go that route. So if we're deploying for iOS, we need to come into our main. We need to make sure that our full screen, we know it's false. We still have the toggle Game Boy UI turned on, but we need to come and turn off the VSync. Because VSync turned on makes Safari run at 30 FPS, and then that breaks all of our collision detecting. So I still don't know why it does that, but we'll turn off VSync, and then we'll also go into our constants and we'll change back down our scale. We have a, what is it called? Scale factor. So we have a scale factor that if we go to 2, it'll be a lot smaller, but then on the web deployment, it works on my phone. So I think that's what we'll do. Okay. I think that's okay. So that looks right. So this commit should be okay to go upload to our website, which I don't have my Mac set up for that, but it shouldn't be too hard. Gotta put my copies. So I'm streaming on NeoVim on PC, but we've also got an Elgato capture card plugged in so that I can share the Mac part, which is either building it for iOS or it's just my personal laptop. So it's got that going for it. Let me make sure this is working. We'll plug in the phone, and then we'll have to do a git commit here and push so that we can see our changes on our other machine here. Let me go. Let's do that. Let's do our git commit. Actually, I'm going to check our diff first. Just sometimes changes sneak in there, you know? So I don't want any surprises. What did I just do? Okay. We're going to commit saying testing firespell cast on mobile. Sweet. So we just git pushed it. Let's check it out on our device here. Let me make sure I've got a cord. Because I like to screen share the mobile test also, just so y'all can see it. Okay. We should be good to go. Okay. We'll swap over to Mac. Okay. So we're going to pull our changes, make sure we're up to date. Testing firespell cast on mobile. That's the one we're looking for. So we made ourselves a little script here. We just run build, and it runs Love.js. It makes it zips our Love2d into a .love like this, and then it moves the love into the Love.js folder. It runs Love.js, which gives us a WebAssembly and a JavaScript file. And then all we have to do to get this on our website is to come in here and upload these 5 different files that we just made. So we upload these 5 different files to our web server, and then it should be live. Okay, 5 files transferred. Okay. You know what we didn't do is console log anything to the screen that would have been helpful to us. I can tell you that pressing A isn't spell casting, so that isn't working. But we also aren't printing anything to the screen. Let's see, because I don't know how the caching works on mobile. So this could be the old deployment. I know VSync is turned off because we're getting 33 FPS. So not so successful. Maybe let's see here. I'm just going to try it on Safari real quick. Let's see. Why is Safari getting 87 frames a second? Okay. Well, yeah, we did not add anything that would be helpful to us for this, so that was our bad. Ideally, what we should have done was put... we should have went into our debugging and tried to print it up on screen. And what we should have You know, it could have messed up on the... Let's come in here and let's just try to print up. We'll try to print up if fire is pressed or not. So we'll go into our global buttons table at index 1, which is the A button, and we're trying to ask if its fire spell pressed is equal to true. We'll just print the Boolean value of that converted to a string, and then we'll put it under our other note here, and we'll see on screen here fire spell is false. Okay, so it's not nil, so our game knew to add the field to it, but fire spell is false only upon the initialization here, because we're not checking our touch. So if we go into our touch detection or touch handling, we might have messed up here on the if K is 1. For key button in pairs buttons. So yeah, when K is equal to 1, that's the first button in the I pairs of buttons. So yeah, on the very first button we're checking. Yeah, we're checking the fire spell pressed true. Okay. So let me just try to say, let me just make sure that if we put this to true, that we get true out of it. We do, fire true. Okay. So it's not a bad field initialization. That's working. It's failing here in the converting it to true. Okay, let's check out our buttons. Make sure, yeah, our touch handling. Okay, so buttons is a global table, and A is the button that is at the index 1. So buttons index 1 is this A button. Okay. So when we cycle through all our buttons, yeah, when K is equal to 1, yeah, because for every button we need to check if any touch is colliding with it. So if we're on the first button and then we're on any of the touches that collides with it, if the key is 1, then we're going to go check, turn our fire spell pressed into true. Okay. So let's deploy this and see if fire spell pressed is true upon a touch, because maybe the spell casting just isn't quite working, but maybe the Boolean is being toggled correctly. I don't know. Let's see. Okay, let's try it again. We'll go back to our Mac and see. This is pretty easy. Like, we just get pull. We get that change. Really? It was just one line of code changed? We run build again. And then we, as long as this changed files, which I believe it did. So we'll just deploy this to the server here. You know, yeah, real programmers fix the one line of code that makes the whole game work, right? Bad programmers don't fix that one line. So we'll see. Okay, if we see the console, okay, we see fire false up there. Okay, so yeah, we're just not triggering. Oh, you know what? The buttons aren't being triggered here. We're only updating our D-pad buttons, not our this stuff. So this is interesting, because if we hit select is working, So how come our A and B button are not registering touch right now? We'll have to go dig in there. Okay. This is what sucks. Like it's kind of weird to me that it's easier to build and deploy to the web and share it with the world than it is to build and deploy to my one phone and try it on my actual phone. It's easier to just send it to the web and then access the web via phone, which is a little wild. Okay, so I think our buttons here, we have our touch detection objects that are holding all of our... Hey, Brett Does Twitch, thank you for the follow. Got Brett Does Games and Brett Does Twitch, yeah? Thanks for the follow, dude. So we've got our buttons rendering here, which I would think, you know, if we look at the render function for our touch detection objects, which is what is in those tables, all it is saying, okay, if the thing is pressed, then render a square right where the thing is pressed. And then, yeah, I was gonna say, because I think you were my first follow. I think Brett Does Games was my... No. I think AKA Bob was my first follow, and you were number 2. So yeah, first is worst, second is the best. Because AKA Bob isn't here right now. I've heard such things. Okay, so I feel like at some point we must have just turned off updating the buttons. Oh, look at this. Oh, we aren't. Okay, we've got some hard coding of the buttons, so I think we're just not updating our button. No, we are. Let's see here. Where do we update our touch objects? See, we're rendering them all, but are we updating them all? We don't even run update, we just check. Okay, so this is the line right here. Well, no, we are cycling through our buttons here. So instead of running the update function, because if we look at the update function in our touch detection, there actually isn't an update function. So we're just like, we're doing it manually here in the touch handling. And we're saying, just like we're going above here in all of our D-pad buttons, for every button in our D-pad, for every touch in our touch, if we collide a button with our very touch, that button becomes pressed. And we are doing the button.pressed gets true. And then we break. Okay, so it would still cycle through the next touch. If it hits this break, it would break out. Oh no, it would break out to the next button and check the next button for any given touch collision. So I'm not seeing where we're failing to render the A and B buttons here. What are we doing here? Okay, I vaguely remember something about... Well, I guess let me see if the start button is rendering the press or not, because I don't think it is. I don't think any of them are anymore. Prosto, I'm probably only streaming another, I don't, depends how much Steam I have. But probably just 30 more minutes. Hopefully we can get this figured out in the next 30 minutes, because none of the buttons are rendering as pressed that aren't the D-pad. Only the D-pad's rendering as pressed. But yeah. If you gotta sleep, Prosto, I totally get it. Or if you can't sleep, right? What? It's super early for you, right? Okay. Yeah, this is like... What's sad is this is like the better version of us doing it, and it's still hard for me to understand what the heck's happening. Okay, so we have a global D-pad table of all of our D-pad touch detection objects, and we also have a buttons table. We have some callback modifications to our touch press and touch move to go ahead and track every one of our touches and delete them once they're released. That's still working. It's just that we're going to come in here and say, okay, every button we have gets defaulted to false. And then we're going to cycle through our buttons. The only difference we did was we turned buttons into eye pairs here for the collision, but yeah, we don't have the eye pairs here. I'm tempted to just take off the eye pairs here. They are an array, so that shouldn't matter, but that's the only difference between our D-pad and our buttons table, because all we have to do to see the button press is have this button pressed get true here, and that's exactly what we're doing for the D-pad. So I don't see where that would mess up, and the only difference was the eye pairs. So let's try that and see if... See, because look, we're doing eye pairs here, and it renders fine. Let's try this. We'll just say remove eye pairs from button update. And we can just do it in the terminal here. Whatever, yeah, update, whatever. Oh, you know what? No, let's just do it. Because it is a different repo. Tashio.dev is the web deployment repo, and Tashio is the game repo, so we'll just do it from here. Git pull. We get our forward lines of code. We'll rebuild. And we'll redeploy, and we'll see if the eye pairs fixes it. I don't think it will, but I don't know what else to try. What did I just do? Yeah, still not working. Oh, there we go. There we go. Spellcasting's working. Hell yeah, hell yeah. Oh, hell yeah. Oh, hell yeah. So what's so cool about this method is, like, right now, what I just deployed 12 seconds ago, it's live on the website right now. So people on their phone can go try it. Try A for spellcasting and D-pad to walk around. That is so cool. That's sweet. And it looks like, even though we're at 30 frames a second, I mean, ignore that. That was even though the frame rate's only 30 frames a second, the spellcasting looks frame independent, right? The monostrain looks right. The focus indicator looks correct. So maybe what we'll do is I'll test this on Firefox maybe, and we'll remove the debugging from the screen there so that if people want to play it, that debugging stuff isn't right in the way. And then we'll have to leave a little note for ourselves. We have to re-implement the character lock-on. Not lock-on, the... Because right now the geckos can knock us off-screen out of bounds, but we need to clamp our X and Y position to be within the legal bounding area. Because look, they'll just knock us right out, and that shouldn't be possible. They're clamped correctly, which means we can stay over here and and cheat and cleanse them without even getting hurt. Oh, this is sweet. Oh, spellcasting working on mobile is really sweet. This is awesome. So yeah, all we'll do is turn off our console debugging, and then we'll repush and recommit, and then call it a night. But this is sweet. And then at some point we'll have to figure out how to do some JavaScript calling to get the width of the device so that we can scale this to different phones. I had to scale it because, like, look at how it's not even fitting. I can't even hit the start and select buttons and see the top of the screen on my tiny phone. But on another iPhone, on the bigger iPhone, it fits like perfectly. So maybe there's a way for us to kind of make this one smaller depending on the screen size. We can make it smaller. And then, just scale it dependent on the mobile device that we're actually on. But this will be close. We'll do those little fixes here, and we will put what do we want to do? We want to do, I think in our play state we have that rendering for our focus and our fire, yeah. And then we also have one more. What is it? Delta X? Where are we doing that? It's going to be hard to find. Right here. It was in the entity class. Yeah, that was like not the place I was thinking that was. Okay, you know what? We'll just delete it, and then we'll just delete these two. So moving forward, we don't always want firespell to be cast upon an A button being pressed. But this is the first step of being like, okay, well, we know A button's pressed. Once we have an inventory system, we'll be able to say, okay, A button's pressed, check what's equipped in the A slot, and then make either, if the element fire, if the fire element is equipped in the A slot, then go ahead, firespell pressed, which would then cast firespell. We'll have to come up with some way of toggling our spell cast, because we do have, right now we only have the one spell, but we want other spells. We do have a way to toggle, where is it? We have a way to, right here, the spellcast entity count. So like at the beginning of the game, when you first find the element and you don't have much proficiency in it, you only have one fire. And then as you gain proficiency, you can get all the way up to 5 fires or whatever. So see how they're like all 5? Depending on, I don't know if I want to do 5. 3 might be the sweet spot. Because 5 is kind of just OP, right? Let them be OP. Let them be OP, I say. But then we have to have a way of saying, do we have different proficiency systems for different spells? So like you might have a 5 on fire, but you're only on 1 on ice or whatever. So we might have to figure a way to toggle that. because right now all our spellcast entities are of the same type. They're all just the fire animation sprite with the same knockback, the same hitbox. So we're gonna have to figure out how to add more different spells, but this is a good step. And now at this point we've gotten most of the hard stuff out of the way with the web deployment and making it work with Game Boy buttons, other than the loot system. But we'll have to rehaul that at some point soon, because right now there's no way to even toggle the loot system on touch. But once we add the inventory, we say if B is pressed and loot is equipped in B, then go ahead and toggle the loot system. So we've got the pieces. We have to rehaul the strings and the frets, but that's okay. That won't be too difficult. Let's make sure we're ready for this new deployment. And we took off. We used to render Tashio Tempo down there, but now it's just the box. I think that's okay. Let's say removed console debugging or whatever, or it's not really console, but that gets the point across, because that's all we did. And then we'll just redeploy it real quick. I love that it's as simple as that. We just run our build script and then we're good. Ideally, we can put this build script on our Windows subsystem for Linux, and then also figure out how to SFTP transfer the files automatically also, so that we don't have to have WebStorm open and we don't have to manually click these files and deploy. Even though it's a 3-button deployment to the web, it could be a 1-button deployment to the web. Okay, so we've got our debugging turned off. We still render the button presses, which I'm fine with. It's good for now. And we have spellcasting working on mobile now. Sweet. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Okay. Sweet. So I'll call it there for tonight. Tomorrow we'll probably start doing our inventory system. So we'll probably be mapping out in Sprite how it looks, and then we'll be mapping out the basic interactions. So it's like if you select your slot to equip things, or select your slot to select things to be equipped, as well as a little there's going to be different outfits that give you different powers in this game. So I'm going to have like a backdrop of whatever current biome you're in, and then a player that yo pro, so in your are you saying in the past like 10 minutes you were out here whipping out shaders? I'm impressed, dude. I'm impressed. We'll have like a little, like, if you equip the blue tunic or whatever, it'll have Tashio in a blue tunic, so it'll kind of like preview what he looks like depending on what things are equipped. So that for also before you leave the start menu, it'll kind of be like, if you select the loot, it'll show the loot in his hand as if it's his like loadout or whatever. And then if he's equipped firespell element or whatever, he's got it holding in his hand. So the UI for it is like not quite like how Link's Awakening is, but it is like the player on the right, the tomes, it'll be the tunics, or the elements, the tunics, and the tomes. And then as you unlock them, it'll be a kind of visual progression for those key items. But then as you equip whatever element, it'll kind of highlight whatever key item is currently equipped, and then show you a preview of what it looks like. So that's what's on the docket for tomorrow. We won't get anywhere near that far. Like, we'll probably just get basic selection starting to work. Hey, thank you for the bits, dude. Making it rain bits. Yo, I appreciate that, homie. Thanks, dude. Yeah. It's coming along. I love that it's working on the web now. That's the dream. So like, instead of handing, I can't hand a Game Boy to somebody and have them play, but I can say go to tashio.dev and go ahead and give it a shot. So that's cool. Thanks for the bits, homie. Appreciate it. So yeah, we'll find someone to raid out here. Let's see who we can raid. You know what? We've been raiding Hypnotics because he is dude, he streams like 12 hours a day. So he's always raidable and he's always programming. So we'll go raid him. Make sure to give him a follow if you aren't already following him, because he's a super nice dude and he's making a cool game. Making a cool goblin game. So yeah. And then yeah, Brett, it'll be on the web. If you're on tashio.dev on the computer, if you hit G, it'll pull up the non-Game Boy UI. And then if you're on the web deployment too, tapping L will toggle the loot system. And then UIOP are the strings. So the rightmost keys on the top row are the strings, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 are the frets. So if you want to try the loot system on the web deployment, that's working. You just can't do it on the mobile deployment, even though it's the same game. But it's listening for a U key press, which on mobile is only touch press, right? So that's how you can try it on the desktop deployment. It's just not working on mobile at the moment. We have to refactor all that stuff. But thanks for the bits, homie. Hope everyone has a good night, and I'll be back here tomorrow. We'll raid out to Hypnotics. Be sure to give him a hey, what's up? Thanks for watching, y'all. I was gonna say, like, let's do a raid message of Goblin King or something. So if we raid out, just tell him Goblin King or something. That might be fun.